Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Gaming Aroma Podcast, gaming chat fueled by coffee. I am your host, KDB, as always. It's been a few weeks since I did an episode. 2 weeks? 2 or 3 weeks? I think nearly 3 weeks, which is a shame. I'm sorry about that. I was on a bit of a roll after my summer break, recording regularly. And then I had to take another little break again because just every weekend I was doing stuff. Life, family, work, just lots of things going on. So sorry about that. I know my hordes of listeners out there have been clamouring for a new episode. Or you can calm down. You can put your pitchforks down. I'm here. I found a bit of a gap in my schedule and I'm here to talk about a few things. It's Halloween. Well, it's nearly Halloween. It's not Halloween today. It's Halloween season. It's Halloween week. It is half term as well, which, you know, fellow parents out there know you have to juggle work and childcare. That's always fun. But I love Halloween. We kind of started celebrating Halloween at the start of the month. The house was decorated. I say house. The front door, the window, and the lounge was decorated. And there's a couple of things around the house, but yeah. The boy loves it. So we're all in for Halloween. We've been watching Halloween stuff, listening to Halloween music. Really getting in the mood. This is the best time of year. I don't hate summer. I don't like long summers. I don't like being too hot. I like the colder weather. Being able to, you know, put a hoodie on, put a jacket on. And wrap up warm, scarves and hats and all that shit. So yeah, it's the best time of year. And I spend this time, like I do play scary games. I do play like horror themed, seasonably suitable games, which I'm going to talk about today. Yeah, I thought I'd make this like just a bit of a Halloween gaming chat rather than... There's a few bits of news like going around at the moment, but to be honest, some of it was a bit depressing. The Sony and Firewalk Studio stuff, obviously, if you're involved in gaming circles, you will have seen Concord came out and it flopped, and now eventually the studio's been shut and people have lost their jobs. Same old shit, to be honest, in this ridiculous game industry. I've kind of talked at length about, you know, the closing of studios and job losses and stuff, and I really don't want to dwell on it. I'm just going to talk about good stuff today. Stuff that makes me feel good, because I need to feel good. Every day is a struggle. Every day is a battle to feel good. Or is that just me? But yes, it's half term, juggling work, juggling childcare, it's Halloween. I haven't even carved the pumpkins yet. We've got about 9 pumpkins in the house and we haven't carved a single one, which is really unfortunate, because that means probably going to be a lot of carving tonight. But yes, I hope everyone is well. Do you play scary games this time of year? Do you watch scary movies? Obviously, there's lots of scary movies coming out. Smile 2's coming out. I really want to see that. Yeah, but this is a gaming podcast. It's not a movie podcast. My movie podcast launches in 2025. Yeah, some of you think I'm joking. But yeah, I'm just wanting to focus on good stuff. I'm not really going to talk about the news. I'm so like knee deep in a certain game that I'm just going to have to talk about that as well, which I'll get to towards the end. But Halloween games. What have I been playing this month? A few specific things, which are pretty cool. Number 1 is Inscryption. This came to Game Pass, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, maybe? It's not a new game. Inscryption. So it's a 2021 roguelike deck building game developed by Daniel Mullins Games and published by Devolver Digital. Oh my god, don't tell me this is another single dev game. Is that true? Development. The game started as a small project that Daniel Mullins built during the Lumdrum Dare 43 Game Jam in 2018, where the theme was Sacrifices Must Be Made. Oh my God, this is insane. So this is like one of those, it's not a 48-hour film challenge. This is a game jam. And someone's kind of thrown it together. Yeah, took influence. He'd gotten back into Magic the Gathering and took influence from the sacrifice mechanic there to create the approach where the player would sacrifice creatures to play as other ones. So Inscryption blends various genres, including deck building, roguelike, turn-based strategy, escape room, puzzle, and adventure, while drawing inspiration from, among others, tabletop role-playing games, board games, horror, vlogs, and found footage. The reason I wanted to talk about it is I played it for a couple of hours, thought it was awesome, like super horror vibes, like Halloween vibes. It's got kind of like a pixel art style to it as well. Well, not kind of, it has. Mainly a pixel art style. And yeah, it's a card game, but it's really weird, and yeah, you have to sacrifice your cards and stuff. And sometimes when I hear myself talking about trying to describe like a card game, video game to people, I imagine the listener just switching off and thinking, I'm not interested. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, like, try to get past that. I mean, think about Balatro, for one thing, and how incredible that game is. That's a card game that came out earlier this year, and it's basically Game of the Year, or it's in contender for Game of the Year. So this is another card game. It's not like Balatro at all. It's different. There's sort of weird adventure and puzzle stuff in it as well. And absolutely loving the vibes of that. Thought I would, because when new stuff comes to Game Pass, I generally just test it out and think, I'll grab some achievements as well. But this is one where I didn't just test it out for half an hour. Like, I played it for like 2.5 hours. And I haven't been back yet. I kind of parked it because I moved on to something else. But I was listening to another podcast a couple of days ago, maybe, and they started talking about Inscryption, and somebody was saying that they played the first couple of hours of the card game stuff, and then they kind of gave up because they got bored. And then the other guys on the podcast were like, no, you need to carry on because there's a kind of twist and a shift in the game. And they didn't spoil it, but they started hinting at it. And I haven't experienced it yet for myself, but I just wanted to highlight this here. Like, if you're looking for a Halloween game, check out Inscryption. I think it's everywhere. Let's have a look. Yeah. PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and PC. Yeah, so it's everywhere. But I'm gonna tonight check out what this weird little twist was. I'm super intrigued as to what this is, because I thought, playing the game, this is established. This is what it is. It's like a card game, and it's creepy and weird, and I like it. But apparently there's more to it. So I had to shout out Inscryption here, because I'm going to go back to that. And Halloween season is perfect. Yes, I am a bit sniffly, as you can hear. The reason I'm sniffly is, so this weekend just passed, we had a family trip to Legoland. And so, side note, Legoland, here's my brief review. Don't go unless you're rich. And what I mean by that is, if you're rich, you'll be able to stay in the on-site hotel, buy all the fast passes for the rides, and afford the food and drink that's on sale in the park. I don't want to say it was incredibly disappointing. My kid had a great time. He had a blast. He loved it. I did not, and neither did my wife. Yeah, by the end, we went away for the day, and then we stayed in a hotel about 10 minutes down the road, and then wanted to go back for a day two. So, because it's quite a long drive, it's like a 3-hour drive from us. So we did that. By the end of day one, we were all ready to kill each other. We were literally we were considering driving home and sacking off the paid for hotel and day two, but no, we persisted. I mean, it's really sad to me that like massively overpriced food and drink and waiting in line all day are just kind of accepted as part of the theme park experience, because most queues for the rides were 45 minutes minimum for pretty much everything. So we spent most of the days, we were there for 7 hours for day one, maybe longer than 7 hours. We spent most of the day stood in line. I think we went on 4 rides. Hot dogs are like 13 quid. The Costa coffee shops it's like £5 for a medium coffee, and you can't even scan your Costa app, which really annoyed me. All of the staff working there look like they want to be somewhere else, which really kind of, when you're standing in line all day and dealing with the high prices, this is the high cost, it's a high ticket price to get in as well. When you're standing in line all day, it'd just be nice maybe if the staff were a bit more enthusiastic and, made your day more enjoyable and made you forget that you're just, painfully standing in these queues and being squeezed of every penny at every turn. So, I mean, if you're rich and you got loads of money, yeah, maybe none of that matters. But to me, time is money. Even if I was rich, I kind of failed to see the value in what was on offer. There also wasn't that much Lego, which sounds really weird to say. Things are sort of made of Lego, sort of. But there wasn't many like Lego stations or Lego people walking around, sort of dressed up in a Lego costume. Yeah, and it's £10 a day to park. So that's good. Yes, just charge parking to everyone that is coming to the theme park. They've already paid entry. Yeah, it's not like you're parking there and then going to do your shopping in town. It's just stupid. So, yeah, do I recommend Legoland? No, I don't. 1 out of 5 stars, and the 1 star is for the Ninjago ride because it's the only thing that felt like it was made after the year 2000. Everything else was incredibly dated and dirty. So, but yes, precious memories. Anyway, moving back on to Halloween games. Inscryption. What else? Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Classic Mega Drive and SNES game. Me and my buddy Ryan used to absolutely love this game. I sent him a message on WhatsApp of me playing it because it was on sale on Xbox. It was like 85% off, so I got it for £2. And it's just like, come on, you cannot go wrong. I love Zombies Ate My Neighbours, I think, and it's not just a nostalgia thing. I think a lot of people who played it back then think it was really decent. It has that sort of late 80s, 90s horror vibe, One of the characters has got blonde, spiky hair and wears 3D glasses. You shoot zombies with a water pistol. There's kind of like iconic horror characters, sort of. You have like mummies, zombies, werewolves, a guy in a Jason mask with a chainsaw, which is pretty cool. And you have to walk around the levels that are like mazes. If you imagine Toe Jam and Earl, it's that sort of like setup, except you can't fall off the edge. You go around, you save the residents, the people that are being attacked by the zombies, and then a door opens and you go through the door and you go to the next level. And I think there's like 50 levels or something stupid like that. I don't think I've ever got past like level 15 in my life. This is one of those things that I used to play when I was a kid, where you'd play it for, I think when I was really young playing the Mega Drive, I never really had like it. I didn't play the Mega Drive for like 6 hours in a row. It was just kind of short bursts, like for an hour or half an hour. That's all you were allowed to do. That's all I was allowed to do. But I remember playing this and just, you get past the first few levels. There was no save system. They had passwords, which you could enter to get to a certain level. So unless you were writing down all the passwords, you just had to start from the beginning every time you played it. But yeah, the music in this game is so, so good. Love the music. Just really nice design. I was reading, I don't know if it's in the latest issue of Retro Gamer or I read this online. I'm getting brain fog, but it was one of those weird things where I think I bought it and then I was reading through Retro Gamer and there was an interview with one of the guys who worked on it as well. I don't know if I'm imagining that or I just read it online and I'm mixing up the two. But yeah, Zombies Ate My Neighbours is a classic game from my childhood and still holds up today. Like, really fun. Like, to pick it up for £2 and it looks and runs perfectly well. Upgraded visuals. When I say upgraded visuals, it's still the pixel art style, but it's just, it's high definition or 4K or whatever. So it's nice and crisp. It's funny when you revisit these games as well, like as an adult, because I've already gotten further, I think, than I ever remember in the past. So despite the fact that I feel like, oh yeah, I played that game loads when I was young and I remember loads about it, there's only so much of it I've actually experienced. So as an adult, where maybe I'm a little bit more proficient. Although this game is really fucking hard as well. It can get tricky. But yeah, I'm slightly better at games. I can progress in them a bit more easily and see parts of the games that I've never seen. So it's like, it's fresh. It's all new. It's like playing a new game. So I recommend that. And I'm pretty sure that's on everything as well. The new Call of Duty came out on Xbox Game Pass. So, of course, I dived in and had a go on that. And the reason I wanted to touch on it is it has the zombies mode, which, again, this is the second game in this episode where zombies are a thing. And that's, you have to give credit where it's due. Like, Call of Duty gets a lot of shit these days, and rightly so. The zombies mode is awesome. And I've only dabbled in it in this new release, but I could feel the kind of like addictiveness, if you like. So I really want to play more of that. But yeah, from what I played, just, really fun. Perfect again for Halloween season. And yeah, I didn't really think I'd find myself saying that. I was always going to try the new Call of Duty on Game Pass because it's on Game Pass. Why wouldn't I try it? And the lead up to release, like the word was, oh, this has been in development for quite a while. They've put a lot of effort into it and it's actually a decent Call of Duty. And then it's come out and the reviews are actually really good. Like everyone loves it, says it's the best Call of Duty in years, kind of revives what was good about the old games and tightens it up and adds diversity to the campaign, like, diverse gameplay and lots of things to do. So like between stealth and action and puzzles and all that kind of stuff. So that has been fun and definitely a part of my Halloween rotation. But I think the main thing that I really wanted to talk about, and I've probably titled the episode as such, so you might know this already. So a couple of weeks ago, the Alan Wake 2 DLC came out, The Lake House. And this DLC has basically thrown me back into the Remedy verse and the Alan Wake verse in such a big, ridiculous way that has even kind of caught me by surprise. So firstly, so last year, before Alan Wake 2 came out, I had never played Alan Wake. I think I might have played it for like 20 minutes or an hour, or watched someone else play it. I don't know. But I remember when it was coming out, I thought, right, I need to, I've got to play through the first one before the second one comes out, because the second one looked awesome. And, people I like and trust had said how good Alan Wake was. So I was like, right, I need to check it out, finally. So I bought the remaster, Alan Wake Remastered, and I played through it a few weeks before Alan Wake 2 came out. And I came away from that game, like, incredibly... not surprised. I just felt stupid for being so late to the party, because although I think at the time I came away from it like, okay, there's a couple of fiddly little gameplay things here that date it a little bit, like some of his, climbing can be a bit clunky, and the fact that the camera always automatically switches to the left side and you have to click it to switch back to the other side. Yeah, people who've played the game will know what I mean there. And the fact that that wasn't even patched out of the remaster is insane to me. There's a couple of little gameplay things that's like, okay, yeah, you can tell this was made in whatever it was, 2010, without the biggest budget on planet Earth. And, but beyond that, ignoring those little gameplay things, I came away from it thinking this is very clearly a really special game, because there's multiple times in Alan Wake 1 where things happen that just feel like other games weren't really doing this, and it was also, you could tell all the influences it draws from are so obvious. Twin Peaks, X-Files, Stephen King, all that stuff. It's all sometimes a bit too on the nose, but there's something about that leaning into genre and that kind of no, this is what it is because it's good and this is why we've done this, and then making it its own thing. Like on paper, the story of Alan Wake, there is a writer whose wife goes missing while they go on vacation, and then he starts getting attacked by people covered in darkness. It's like, okay, that sounds about as cheesy and run-of-the-mill as you could expect. But there's something about the writing, the characters, that Sam Lake and everyone who's worked on the game has absolutely nailed in Alan Wake, where you find yourself getting so, at least I found myself getting so sucked into that world because they're all so charming and weird and quirky in their own little ways that they're all unforgettable. All of the characters, maybe like the sheriff in Alan Wake 1 is a bit bland, but the FBI agent that's hunting him down, the waitress at the diner, his agent, Cynthia Weaver, the old gods of Asgard. It's just like all of the characters are so specifically, polished and given personality and history and backstory that, you can tell that Sam Lake wanted to write movies and stuff first because his character stuff is awesome. But yeah, so I've gone completely around the houses there. I don't even know how I got to this point, but I think I was saying, I experienced Alan Wake 1, and that was it. I came away from it realizing it was very special, despite those slightly dated gameplay mechanics. And it also, for me personally, because things like The X-Files and Twin Peaks and Stephen King are like, this genre stuff, if you like, and horror are right up my street. It ticked all the boxes for me. It felt like, okay, yeah, this was a game made for me. But I came away from Alan Wake 1 thinking, it's very special. I wouldn't have called it like a masterpiece or anything, but I loved it and thought it was great. And then I was ready for Alan Wake 2. So Alan Wake 2 came out, and I mean, I don't think I've on any of my podcasts talked about Alan Wake 2 or Alan Wake at length, and that's sort of what I'm doing now. So yeah, Alan Wake 2 came out, and it was a game of the year. It was in whether it was my game of the year, it probably was. Like last year, what else came out? Starfield came out last year. Dead Space Remake came out last year. Planet of Lana came out last year, which I love that game so much. I think they were my top 4. Starfield, Dead Space, Alan Wake 2, Planet of Lana. I think they were my top 4 last year. I might have tweeted about it and I've probably gotten it wrong. But anyway, so yeah, Alan Wake 2 was one of the best kind of interweaving stories I've played in a video game ever, I think. Like, I can't think of a better one. And all of the, like I say, the genres that it leans into and the stuff that it pulls from is also right up my street. That again, it just felt like it was a game made for me. And so this kind of Resident Evil 2 remake style gameplay mixed with X-Files, Twin Peaks, Lost. There's loads of Lost references in Alan Wake 2 as well, and Alan Wake 1. It just feels very, it was like this was made by people with very similar tastes to me, so it's ticking all the boxes, and obviously all the insane stuff that came with it, with the old gods of Asgard, with We Sing, with the live performance at the Game Awards. Like Alan Wake 2 was a huge moment last, autumn when it came out. I loved that game so much, and it was constantly blowing my mind how just twisted and funny and horrific and quirky it was. I'm just completely speaking off the top of my head here. I feel like these thoughts are completely they're just unraveling from my mind. I haven't written any notes, so I'm probably just talking nonsense as usual. But yes, point is, I loved Alan Wake 2. I also, before Alan Wake 2 came out, I actually played Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which was the small little follow-on, Xbox Live Arcade follow-on from Alan Wake 1. I loved that as well. Alan Wake 2 came out, played that. Then I also played Control. Or did I play Control before Alan Wake 2? I think I played it before Alan Wake 2. Yeah. I did everything in that Remedy verse before Alan Wake 2 came out, because Control, it was revealed, is in the same universe as Alan Wake, and there was the Alan Wake DLC. So yeah, I played all that and basically just loved everything. Came away so happy with it. Alan Wake 2 DLC came out earlier this year, which was Night Springs, and that was these 3 little short episodes which were balls to the wall weirdness, fun, like leaning into the tongue-in-cheek kind of funny gunplay stuff, links to Control, links to Quantum Break. And then by the end of episode 3, there was lots being done in that DLC which again expanded the universe even more and hinted at stuff. It was a nice little wrap up to Quantum Break without being an official wrap up, because obviously they can't officially connect to Quantum Break because Xbox owns the license and all that. But they're basically winking at it and saying no, that this is how we're getting around it. So that was really cool to see. But that first DLC I came away from like, this is like a super fun thing. It's cool to see them off the leash a little bit, and which is weird to say for a game like Alan Wake 2, which is already completely off the leash. And then I sort of parked it, and then we've arrived now to Halloween 2024. So the Lake House DLC, the second DLC for Alan Wake 2, is out, or came out a couple of weeks ago. And it is a massively different tone to the first DLC. It's more in line with the main game. And it's literally called an addendum as well. When you start it, it says the Lake House. It says addendum rather than a chapter title. So it is seen as an addendum to Alan Wake 2. And very dark, atmospheric horror. It leans back into the horror, weirdness, twistedness. And by the end of it, you come away... I'm not gonna dive right into the plot and everything here. Like, I highly recommend you play it. But by the end of it, you come away from the Alan Wake, from the Lake House DLC, thinking, right, this is the tying together the Control and Alan Wake universes even more. It's all interconnected. There's so much crossing over. It kind of hints at what's to come in Control 2. It takes some really unsubtle digs at AI and art becoming formulaic and trying to, use computers to recreate art, and, basically how that's not going to work, and all this kind of stuff. And creepy enemies, creepy characters, awesome set design, music again, I've seen a few people criticizing the Lake House DLC, saying, oh, it's quite short and all this. And it's like, no. You're missing the point. You're absolutely missing the point. It's a DLC that if you knew exactly what you're doing, you could probably run through in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. But that's not how you play these games. It's like when people called the Shattered Space DLC short. It's like, that's because you sped run through, didn't speak to any characters, didn't read anything, and didn't do anything. So it's not short. It took me 3 hours to finish, and a second playthrough to get all the other achievements. There's great little story beats, connections to Control, connections to Alan Wake, and just loved it. I don't know if I want to call it a perfect DLC, but it was a excellent, twisted... It was a perfect addendum to Alan Wake 2. And I was so happy with it. And I came away from playing this DLC like, right, well, I guess I've got to play everything else again. So I've gone back to the start. I've gone back to Alan Wake 1. And I decided to play because I previously played the remastered version of Alan Wake 1, on Xbox. I decided to play the original Xbox 360 version, which you can download, and, because it's backwards compatible. And I was like, right, I'm going to go through it again, and I'm going to do a collectible run, because Alan Wake is notorious for its collectibles. There's like 100 coffee thermoses, 120 manuscript pages, 30 mystery chests, cans to knock over, signs to read. It's insane. It's kind of egregious, to be honest, but I was like, no, I'm going to go through and do everything. So I spent basically the past, most evenings of the past week doing that. Not when I was at Legoland, but spent my evenings doing that. And my God, I just feel like we do not deserve Alan Wake and Sam Lake and this world that they've created, like with all this shit going on in gaming and all the, yeah, okay, maybe it is a taste thing. This isn't what some people are looking for in games. For me, growing up with video games, I've said on First Aid Spray, like how when Resident Evil 1 came out, when I played Resident Evil 1, that was the time when I realised that games weren't just toys. And I was like, oh, they can be like the movies that I love. They can be like this art that I love. And, you know, I was like 10 years old, but I was very aware of the kind of the artistry of a movie. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to, you know, be involved in filmmaking. I always did, for as long as I can remember. From making stupid home movies with my friends to the earliest days I can remember, and if Ryan's listening to this, he'll remember, before we had cameras, we would make audio recordings. We'd set up a tape recorder and do like scenes in my living room with music playing and just being ridiculous, because we were creating those things before. No one had a camera, no one could afford it, or our families couldn't afford it, or whatever, or at least they weren't easily accessible. But we were making stuff and always wanted to make stuff. And games like, you know, I think, okay, Sonic the Hedgehog and Mega Drive games and Super Mario and stuff, it's like, yeah, they were just games. They were toys, basically. I saw them as toys. And then when I played Resident Evil, it was like, oh no, this isn't a toy. This is like the movies I love, but a game. It's more interactive and immersive. And that only increased as time went on with like Resident Evil 2 and Metal Gear Solid, and God, I'm blanking. But yeah, I've sort of been on a journey with gaming where I very much preferred story-driven movie-like cinematic games a lot first, you know, certainly post-Resident Evil. And then as I got older, I like, and particularly now, I do love very video games, and I can see the appreciation. And because there is obviously a really hard push into the cinematic stuff that sometimes I feel like isn't done as well. But when it comes to Sam Lake and Alan Wake, you know, Kojima as well, Neil Druckmann, but, you know, and like The Last of Us, I'm not really the biggest Last of Us fan. I haven't even finished the first game. Like, I appreciate it for what it is, but I got other thoughts, you know, thoughts for another day on that. And same with Kojima. I think sometimes Kojima needs to be reined in, but I feel like what Sam Lake has done is continued to deliver those things that really, really sparked something in me with video games back when those original Resident Evils came out. And he does it better than them. Like, I mean, I love Resident Evil. I would say what is done in Alan Wake and Alan Wake 2 and the Remedyverse is infinitely better in lots of ways. They do different things, I suppose. I mean, maybe that's a bit too dramatic. They do different things. But yeah, so replaying Alan Wake 1 now, I'm just like, because I'd only played it through once in the past, playing through a second time, and I'm now on my third playthrough because I played through, did all the collectibles. There was a couple of things I missed, and I thought, right, I'm going to go back through and play on Nightmare mode. So I'm currently on my third playthrough, my second playthrough in 2 weeks of Alan Wake 1, clearing up everything, getting all the achievements, doing everything. I'm so engrossed and seeing things that I've missed before. And with the context of Control, Alan Wake 2, and even the DLC, The Lake House. There is stuff in the Lake House DLC that is referenced in Alan Wake 1. And I'm like nearly falling off my chair at this stuff when I'm playing it. Like, it's so cool to see that kind of attention to detail, that commitment to your world that you're building, to the characters that you've built, and to sustain it all these years later in an industry which demands absolute fucking nonsense delivered, you know, to these money-making machines, to those studios chasing the Fortnite dream. It's just, yeah. Playing Alan Wake 1 again has just been... I was playing it and I'm like, I'm starting to question if this is my favourite game of all time. My favourite game of all time is Resident Evil 2. And things have come close to that, you know, often. I feel like nothing has ever given me the same feeling that Resident Evil 2 did, within the context of the time it came out and now. I can play Resident Evil 2 today and it still affects me in the ways that it did back then. And, it affects me in different ways. I feel like nothing has come close apart from this. I don't know if Alan Wake is my favourite game of all time. It's trying to be. I think it's becoming my favourite game of all time with the context of what came after and the world that it's built. So standalone, it's like side by side. I think, I'm still picking Resident Evil 2 all day long. 10 out of 10, perfect masterpiece. Alan Wake feels like it's a masterpiece with everything else that came with it. So obviously they had the benefit of time, they had the benefit of money, other games. So can you compare them? Yeah, like I say, comparing them side by side, Resident Evil 2 is my number one. But Alan Wake 2, with everything else, the weight of the universe that came with it, and all the other games, it's up there. It's on par. So I have been absolutely loving it. I'm obsessed with it. And just so much appreciation for what was done here. And I think lots of people, I don't want to call it underrated, because lots of people do rate it and do know that it's good. But, like Alan Wake 2 apparently still hasn't recouped its production costs. It hasn't sold as much. I feel like lots of people are missing out. I feel like even people who would like it are missing out. I feel like if you really dedicate the time, if you like horror, story-driven stuff, it doesn't get much better than this. I mentioned the heavy hitters. So like Kojima, Druckmann, Shinji Mikami, obviously, Sam Lake, these gaming storytellers. I mean, Sam Lake is up there, man. He is really up there. And of course we have recency bias, but I'm coming to this kind of opinion after sort of stewing on it for a year ago when I first played it. And as I say, I felt stupid that I was so late to the party, but I'm at the party now, and I feel like I'm, I will attend every single party to do with Alan Wake. Just amazing, really, really amazing. I'm finishing up this Nightmare run. I'm going straight back to Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Then I'm going straight back to Control. I'm going straight back to Alan Wake 2. Yeah, it's going to take me right up to Christmas. So I'll probably be touching on it again on this podcast. I don't know what else to say, really. Just kind of blows my mind. Like I know that there's stuff coming from Remedy in the future. They're working on Control 2. They have Firebreak, which is this is it called Firebreak? FBC, which is this Control multiplayer game, which, if anybody else was advertising a game like this, I'd be a bit like, not interested. Because it's Remedy advertising it, I'm like, okay, I'm interested, and I will see what you're going to do. It's quite clear that the games are, they're doing what Marvel do. They're doing what lots of franchises do. I feel like we will have, as long as they can get the funding and sort the development out, we will have the Remedy Avengers game at some point. Like, it feels like a team is being put together. Alan Wake, Jesse Faden, who else did I think of? Even the police officer, or the Control Federal Bureau of Control agent, Estevez, who is in the DLC, she could be part of it. There's other characters that have already been introduced that could join in as well, and it's just, I feel like I'm so happy to be alive at a time where I can experience this in what I think is some of the best world building, interactive world building. It's so immersive. It's so, it mixes together all the flavors that I love. And I feel like in a weird way, it's almost just getting started. And I see that Remedy have done deals to produce TV shows and stuff to do with Alan Wake and Control. How's that going to pan out? I don't know. I guess we will see, because, making a TV show is very different to making a video game. But because Sam Lake already has that sensibility, maybe it'll work out. But I'm so excited. I'm obsessed. We don't deserve it. If you haven't played Alan Wake 2, Control, get out there and play them. I really like Control, and I'm excited to revisit it as well. I didn't come away from Control feeling the same as I did about Alan Wake 1, but I do wonder now, if I play it again, I'm just going to love it even more. I think I probably will. It is an incredibly solid game that, again, got overlooked. But yeah, I'm absolutely, just completely drowning in it, for want of a better term. And that's my Halloween. That's my Halloween games. I mean, I'm not going to be revisiting Resident Evil. I usually like to play Resident Evil around Halloween. Not this year. It's become a bit of an Alan Wake love-in. I know. I get it. So I do apologise if you came for something else. Maybe you hate Alan Wake and you're like, no, it's absolutely trash, and you probably turned this off halfway through. Just so good. And that's my Halloween games, as I say. I don't know what else is coming out soon. I don't think there's any other horror games coming out. Big games coming up. We've got Indiana Jones is coming up in December, which is getting really good previews. Dragon Age, The Veilguard came out, which I'm not really a Dragon Age player. Again, it's just going to be one of those games that's a huge commitment. Maybe I'll check it out after I finished Cyberpunk and Baldur's Gate 3 in the year 2029. We shall see. If you liked what you heard today, and even if you didn't, please do give the podcast a rating on your podcast platform of choice, a rating or review. I do put them on YouTube as well. They're not video versions, but if you like to listen on YouTube, you can. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I guess I'll try to use more, in future. The channel that I upload these to is sort of coming a bit of a base for my podcasts. So, I'll do that. Thank you, as always, for indulging me today, for listening. I promise it won't be 3 weeks again before I'm back with another gaming aroma. Come and let me know what you feel about Alan Wake and Halloween games. So Twitter, I've kind of left Twitter now, sort of. My account is still active, K_D_B_. I've made it clear on there that really I've moved over to Threads, which I'm loving. Like Threads, like if people want to talk about engagement, I'm just getting the same over there than I was on Twitter. And I know lots of people are going to Blue Sky. I think that's pointless. Like, none of the big brands or publications or, influencers are really over and active on Blue Sky. Now, I know how that sounds when I say that. A lot of those people I don't care about, but in terms of sustainability for a platform and success, Threads is going to be the one that's competing, because that's where all the big accounts have gone to, and that's the place that's active, and where all these big people are saying that they're getting as much engagement over there as they would on Twitter, if not better. So, Twitter is a dumpster fire. I'm still using it for Gears Intel and Tapes from the Wastes, kind of just exclusively for now. At the end of the year, I will probably close down my personal profile. I said that I wanted to keep my gaming diary because of, all the games I've finished in 2024. I'll do that on there, and then I'll just lock down the profile. So come and follow me on Threads, I suppose. I'm KD_Buck. And that's where I'm going to be sharing stuff, just tweeting my thoughts. That's wrong. Threading my thoughts, posting my thoughts. But yes, come and join me on Threads. Thanks for listening to the podcast as always. I will be back again soon. Till next time, happy Halloween. Stay spooky. Bye.